Why aren't you changing your background?
All I got is the police sirens in the background. Straight out of Compton.
All right. I think we're all set. I'm recording and the slides are incoming. All right. So welcome everybody. Again, sorry for the delay, but this is MarketMake judging session 8. And today we're going to be knocking out the last of the projects who haven't presented yet. So I'm going to start off with just a quick intro. For the hackathon, we had 490 hackers from 58 countries and 17 time zones, which is pretty incredible. We had people from all over the world, and it was really, really a great experience to see, you know, just the variety of people we had attending this and building projects with us. In the end result, we had 120 projects come from all of these teams. Again, a huge diversity in lending, in DeFi projects, in NFT, all over the place. So we were really excited to see the number and the variety in the projects that came out of it. So the format for this session, if you're not aware, if you haven't come to an ETHGlobal event before, here's just a quick overview. 4 minutes for the video demo, which is pre-recorded. Some teams might speak over it or do a live voiceover, but typically they'll just be playing it. And then we'll have 4 minutes for questions. We'll pop in short breaks every every few projects, just for the judges to chat to each other and catch up on their thoughts and entering their scores. And then we'll do a longer 10-minute break sometime about halfway, just to let people stretch their legs or get a drink. And then generally, just for hackers to be aware of, the criteria that we suggest to judges is technicality, originality, practicality, how people use it, which means, you know, the UI, UX, and then the final wow factor, which can be up to their discretion, just something that pops out to them or something that they feel sets it apart from other projects. Generally, we want to remind people, both hackers and judges, that this is not necessarily a competition. Well, obviously some people bring a competitive mindset, that's totally fine, but we find that a lot of our hackers are here to learn. They're trying to sometimes just get feedback. Some of our projects have gone on to become businesses, you know, get investment, but not everybody is doing that. So we're just really proud of everybody who's been able to build something and present something at the end of this hackathon. And finally, before we start, I'll just give a quick intro to our judges. Today we have Sergej from 1inch, Evan Van Ness from Week in Ethereum, and Pete Kim from Coinbase. We're really thankful for all of them sharing their time and expertise to give feedback to our projects today. And with that, we're going to jump right into the first project. Unless judges need anything, we're gonna jump right into it. Speak now, forever hold your peace.
Yep, let's do it.
Cool. The first project is Orca Protocol. I will let the team share their screen and give us their demo.
I was just wondering if you could let Stephen Valerian, he was having some trouble joining.
Yep.
Thank you. Hi, we are Team Orca, and today we will be demoing the Orca Protocol, a flexible and adaptable DAO implementation. Our team members are John Sterlacci, Stephen Valeri, Will Kim, Daniel Thompson, and myself, Julia Rosenberg. It's no secret that existing DAOs have a usability problem. Most are either overly complicated or not robust enough. Current governance frameworks lack ways to meaningfully manage hierarchy and permissions, which create voter apathy and misalign voter incentives. A protocol which allows DAOs to easily create flexible rules and manage permissions is critical in order for on-chain governance to reach its full potential. This is why we created Orca Protocol, a gas-efficient, Sybil-resistant DAO implementation using ERC 1155, equipped with a simple UI dashboard to manage DAO proposals and allow on-chain voting for on-chain assets, all secured using Gnosis Safe. Orca is made up of pods, organizations which consist of a fixed number of member tokens, each representing a single vote. Each pod is linked to a multi-sig vault to securely hold shared on-chain assets. Pods are flexible and built modularly to accommodate infinite use cases, including project governance, pooled investing, community management, and so much more. The Orca protocol mints and distributes the pod's ERC 1155 member tokens. In order to claim a membership, one must meet the pod member requirements and rules. Pod members can create proposals and vote on whether to execute. A proposal could be internal, defining requirements to hold membership, or external, performing on-chain actions such as deploying pod funds. All proposals are executed on-chain by a network of third-party users called shepherds. In exchange for Orca tokens, these shepherds ensure proposals are executed fairly and member requirements are being met. Now that you understand the infrastructure, let's see how Jane would use the Orca protocol interface. Jane opens her Orca protocol iOS app. On her dashboard, she can see her pods and any urgent pod proposals. MarketMake Club has an active internal proposal requiring members hold sushi. She votes yay to implement the proposal directly from her dashboard. Jane is going to try to join a new pod, SoFi Direct Club. This pod has two internal rules. One, pod members must hold 120 Aave, and pod members must delegate their Aave to vote to the pod. Jane only meets one of those requirements. She now goes to Aave to delegate her vote and comes back. Jane now complies with the pod internal requirements and claims her membership. Jane wants to create a new external proposal. She selects the Aave rule library and proposes that the pod use its delegated voting power to vote yes on Aave Governance Prop 7. The proposal is now available to other members to vote on. If the proposal passes, it will automatically get executed by the Orca network. And that is the Orca protocol. We are incredibly excited and plan to finish the web app shortly, bring Orca to the mainnet, build out a comprehensive integration library, and implement pod hierarchy systems. We hope Orca protocol will empower all types of organizations to lean into decentralized governance. Here's where you can find out more, and thank you so much for your time.
So you said the web app was coming. I take it that means you did the phone app first.
Right now we just have like clickable mocks. We have the basic setup for like a Create React app, but we're still working on finishing the last little bit of it.
Cool. What made you decide to, like, what was the inspiration? Just frustration with existing DAO frameworks, or?
Yeah, I mean, sort of the frustration came around like the ability for people to collaborate. And we think, you know, I don't know if you've ever joined a Discord group and it starts out like really cool with like 10 or 15 people. But once it balloons into like a couple hundred, the productivity and like the ability to do meaningful things kind of goes down. So we had the thought of like, you know, what if we create governance around these like pods, which are fixed sizes, and it sort of creates like these little action groups, which can sort of self-manage themselves, but also collaborate with other action groups.
I want to ask you.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry about that. I wanted to ask you about the Sherpa model that you mentioned. You mentioned that they execute proposals on behalf. So are you thinking like, you know, is it kind of like, you know, like meta transactions? They you know, submit transactions on Ethereum on behalf, and in return they get tokens. Is that what you're thinking? Like, because
yeah,
you know,
exactly.
maybe gas prices are too high.
Yeah, so right now we just did like a naive implementation, and they the pods themselves store the transaction on chain, and then if the voting thresholds are met, then the shepherds are free to execute them, and the shepherds pay the gas in return for the fees. Future state, we'd like to do something with like the gas station network to see how we can sort of distribute that gas cost more evenly to like either the entire Orca network or like on a pod by pod basis, but that's the setup for now.
I see. And do like the participants in the pod have to stake the tokens for Orca, or like new Orcas get minted to reward those people that submit transactions for you?
So we're still working on the tokenomics a little bit. We're gonna have a pod that basically manages the token distributions on chain. So yeah, we're still trying to figure out whether we do like a staking mechanism or we just mint new tokens. But that's something we're trying to work out currently.
I see. By the way, really awesome UI. It looked really pretty.
Thanks so much.
Also from my side, looks very, very, very well. I like that you just implemented an iOS device, and yeah, looks great. What was your biggest challenge in the development of the application and the whole architecture?
I could give this to Steven real quick.
Yeah, so it's probably around implementing the internal rules. So we set it up in a way where you can have really generic functions for claiming membership. But then you also want shepherds to be able to call those rules over time. And the way you like encode some of the parameters like message.sender is not the message.sender when a shepherd's calling the function. So just making things super generic for both the internal and external rules got pretty technically challenging, just around managing all the call data and encoding things correctly.
Okay, great, thanks.
Very cool, guys. Cool implementation. Good idea.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, can't wait to see y'all launch this. It looks really great. So
Definitely.
Great. It sounds like all of our judges have had a chance to respond. So thank you, Orca, for being the first project to present as part of this session. We're going to move on to the next team, which is CopyTrader. If you haven't been promoted yet to panelist, please raise your hand in the chat and we'll get you up here. Looks like we've got Marcelo, Emeric. Is there anybody else? Otherwise, they should be able to start whenever you're ready.
Oh, yeah, sure. I will share my screen.
Great.
Hello, welcome to our video for MarketMake Hackathon. We are MIME Protocol. We are a team of 2 people, Marcelo Barres and I, Emeric Seguin. Our project is called MIME Protocol, and it enables users of Ethereum to copy transactions of each other. So how does it work? Let's start with an example. So Alice follows Bob's address on Ethereum. Bob makes a transaction. MIME Protocol notices it and will replicate the transaction on behalf of Alice. So our future work is gonna be focused on adding more integrations with Aave, as you will see in the demo, and overall improve the UI and the UX, as well as doing some gas optimization in Solidity. So now let's go with the demo.
We've got MetaMask connected to our site. First of all, we're gonna create a contract which copies all the transactions made by a different address. We're gonna provide the address of the address we want to follow. Yeah, and the second parameter is the strategy. I will explain that later. Yeah, we approve the transaction in MetaMask. Now that event should be cached by our server. You can see in the corner. Yeah, it was. Yeah, we see a new contract deployed. We can view it. Yeah, so that's I hope you like the UI. It's pretty simple. We see our contract. First of all, we're gonna deposit some Ether and then some DAI. We have two different pools. The first is operation pools and the second is relay pools. Now we're gonna deposit to the relay pool. Okay. As always, we interact with MetaMask. We'll wait for the transaction to be confirmed. Yeah, now we're gonna add some DAI into the operation pools. Okay, we wait for this transaction to be confirmed, but in the meantime, we will switch to Aave because we'll copy a deposit on Aave. That's it. First of all, we must give an approval. Yeah, we deposit 25 DAI. We wait for the approval, and now this transaction should be catched by our server and should be triggered its relay. And yeah, and the contract now should also approve. As we see, and in a few seconds we should see a new transaction. So now we just see one transaction because basically we copied the approve, and yeah, we also copied. Yeah, you see two transactions now. So maybe let's open the second one because the first is just the approval. So yeah, as you saw, we got two columns. The first one is base transaction, which actually refers to the transaction that we copied. And the second one is the transaction that specifies how the other transaction was copied. So as you see, the sender is the relayer. Basically, that's us, that's the protocol. And the recipient is the contract that we deployed. And what happened through some internal transactions, we deposited on Aave just to make sure we'll open the logs emitted during this transaction. Let's scroll down. And as you see, the last one is deposit. And who deposit? The smart contract. So basically, yeah.
Great, thanks. Any judges want to start us off?
Yeah, looks great. I just have one question right now. You were showing like there's this thing called strategy contract, and in your demo it was for Aave deposits. So for different types of protocols, would you have to provide the strategy contract?
No, basically every user can select one. For now, we've got just one strategy. And what is the strategy? We didn't manage to explain that in the demo. It's a set of manipulators because, like a transaction is basically to interact with a smart contract, you need to provide some data to the transaction. So yeah, basically the manipulator is just the strategy is a set of manipulators which specify how you need to manipulate the raw bytes of that data to execute the transaction on behalf of yourself.
Gotcha. Okay, and I'm pretty sure you're foreseeing that people will be creating like those strategy contracts for different types of protocols.
Yeah. For now,
Very
we
cool.
support just Aave, but we close to implement the Uniswap interfaces. So yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
It seems like an obvious thing that some of these on-chain analytics companies like Nansen or whatever would be interested in buying, integrating, whatever. I'm curious, why did you just decide to build this? Because you were aping into transactions off of something you saw off Nansen, and you thought like, hey, we should build that?
Oh, maybe the first inspiration was like to maybe create something totally strange and crazy, but after all we realized that we building something really similar to eToro, so we just focus on keep going that way. So yeah, we managed to do that. And yeah, the most crazy stuff was like to do very low level stuff on the EVM. So yeah, that was really nice.
I have another question. So if I'm
Yeah, sure.
copying, say, 0xB1, for example, I obviously won't be able to do it just because, he owns so much more money than I do. So like, is it possible for it to like adjust the amounts?
That's a very good question. So as I said before, the strategy has a set of manipulators, and into that manipulator actually we inject just the context, and the context is basically the contract that is copying the transaction. So for now, our APYin manipulators do not implement like dynamic changing of the parameters, but we can easily do it. But for the hackathon, we did not focus on that because it's just like to get the balance of the copy trader and the balance of the copy trader, and yeah, just doing some math over it.
Did you?
It's just about injecting context. Yeah, sure.
Did you also plan to integrate the security layer? Because if someone knows that someone follow them, so they can trick them out and.
That's the most important question. So for instance, if I'm aware that someone's copying me, and I will decide just to move all of my funds to an external account to trigger the same to happen by a different account, that won't happen. Why? Because as I said, we have strategies, and for every strategy we define which kind of transaction can be copied and how they can be copied. So for instance, I can define that we'll copy just the transactions which represent interaction with Uniswap. And if you interact with Uniswap, you can just copy swap tokens for exact tokens. And within that swap tokens for exact tokens, you can trade just on maybe a liquidity pool of DAI and Repeater. So yeah, that's it. That's how it works.
Okay, great.
Awesome work, guys. Very interesting.
Yeah, I think that's time. Unless there's any final comments, we're going to move on to the next team. All right. Thank you, CopyTrader. Next up is Mantis. Mantis, I think you are already here, so I'll let you get started when you're ready.
Hi, I'll be giving you a walkthrough of Mantis. Mantis is a portal to leverage an RV using 1inch. Use cases. Leverage asset with a long position. Let's say you're long on Ethereum. You expect the price to rise. You can use Mantis to leverage a position and increase your ETH exposure, like say 3 times, and earn higher profits. Second case, leverage assets with pay variable interest. Let's say Link has a much higher interest than DAI. You can leverage Link against DAI and get a higher net interest. Flow. The flow is as follows. Let's say a user wishes to increase his ETH exposure over DAI. He'll first need to approve DAI to Mantis, approve delegation to borrow DAI on his behalf, and call leverage in Mantis. What happens then is that Mantis initiates a flash loan using Aave, receives DAI, swaps that DAI for wrapped Ethereum using 1inch, deposits wrapped Ethereum on lending pool, and borrows DAI, and with this DAI ultimately pays back the flash loan. The leverage factor is calculated as follows. Mantis uses credit delegation to borrow on behalf of the user to pay back the flash loan. This removes the need to use a proxy contract, unlike other current platforms. So since there is no proxy involved, you can view your positions on the Aave dashboard as well. So let's try this out. So Mantis is currently running on a hard hat mainnet fork. This is to enable anyone to seamlessly try out the app without actually spending actual money. It can also be deployed to the mainnet. Let's copy this URL. This is the URL to my hosted hard hat node. Chain ID is 31337. There we go. Let's go to the app. Let's first go to the wallet and get some free tokens. You can choose any token you wish to receive. Let's go with DAI. See, the balance has increased. Let's go to the home page. Now choose the asset you wish to leverage. Let's take Radadiya for now. Leverage against. Put in the amount. Choose the interest mode and select the loan to value ratio. Let's keep this around 0.6 so there is low liquidity ratio, low liquidity risk. So we approve that to Mantis. Delegate to Mantis. Approve delegation. Leverage. See, the position has increased. This is a real-time position on Aave. So basically, with just this amount of Ethereum, you have created a much more leveraged position on Aave. That is around 2.5 times. Thank you. Hi there.
Very, very cool. Can you compare the gas compared to some of the other things out there that do similar things, like especially after you've done 3 transactions?
As in compared to other platforms, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so more than gas cost, I would rather explain how this is different. Let's say DeFi Saver, right? So DeFi Saver and all, they use proxy contracts, which are going to cost more as well. And at the top of that, you cannot see your positions on the Aave dashboard. Since I'm using credit delegation, so there is no proxy involved, right? So you can directly interact with the platform and see your positions on the Aave dashboard as well. Yeah.
So are you saying you haven't benchmarked the gas? Is that what you're saying?
No, the thing is about 1inch. I tried to benchmark the gas cost, but 1inch gives me a different route based on 2 different assets, right? Based on the current best route. So it's a bit difficult to get the maximum gas cost, right? It's dynamic.
Got it. I wish we had someone here who knew anything about 1inch.
Yeah. One question from my side. So you run your own mainnet fork, is it right?
Yeah,
Like
I'm running mainnet node on AWS. Yeah, that's because I've wanted people to try out the app, and 1inch is currently not available on the testnet, right?
Yeah, because of all the 43 integrations they have. Yeah, that sounds great. And you were really able to create a leverage position on the mainnet fork, right? With using 1inch. Well, that's great. That's really interesting. We will get in touch with you after the hackathon for sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Great.
I think that says it all right there, doesn't it?
But, yeah, I don't really have a question right now, but really interesting project. I'd love to check it out and try it, once it becomes available on the main.
It's hosted on mantis.net.in. Anyone can check it out. You'll just have to connect a MetaMask instance to my RPC URL. Right.
Okay.
Very cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Just a question for me. Sometimes projects finish during the hackathon, but sometimes they continue building on them. Do you have any plans to keep building on this afterwards?
Yeah, I do, because I wish to make it a complete DeFi portal, right? Because I was working on other things as well to integrate into Mantis, but I could not manage it in the time given, right? But I'm planning on adding liquidation protection and other things like Aave dashboard 2 currently doesn't give liquidation options, right? To liquidate other users' positions. So I'm planning to add that as well as liquidation protection bot, which will monitor your position off chain and protect you from liquidations. So I'm planning to make it a complete DeFi portal. Leverage is just starting with it.
This is really great idea. Actually, we built similar thing in ETHGlobal last year with my team. Yeah, this protection, this take profit and stop loss. This is really great thing. What do you think? What would you use as oracles to protect people? Like, you would like to use Chainlink as similar what Aave is using, or did you thought also about using on-chain oracles like Uniswap oracles, maybe also one-inch liquidity protocol oracles?
Yeah, so two things about that. First, the monitoring will be off-chain, as in I'll be first monitoring off-chain rates of prices, like tokens, as well. And I've had some experience with Chainlink, so I'll be integrating Chainlink as well. And what else can be done is I'm trying to add other platforms as well. So let's go with Maker. So Maker also has its on-chain price feed, right? So I can fetch all of them, get an aggregate, have different algorithms working to protect anyone's position, right, before anyone else can liquidate. So off-chain, on-chain, both type of prices will be gathered by my bots.
One last question from my side: is the position tokenized? The leverage position is the leverage position tokenized?
I didn't get that. Is it tokenized as in?
As in, like, is it wrapped as a token, like an ERC20 token, so that it can be like transferred easily?
Maybe as an NFT as example as well.
No, this does not include that. I don't think there's a need for that. So what's happening is, let's say I have 100 DAI and I wish to leverage Ethereum, right? So I have a current DAI, let's say I can leverage 4 times. So I'll have 400 DAI worth of Ethereum, right? So Avi generates a DAI, so which can ultimately be sent to anyone without the need to wrapping it again. So let's say I leverage it, I'm getting a DAI anyway, and I can send that to anyone else, right? If provided you do not borrow the entire thing out, if you have some like a safe margin, you can send that a DAI to anyone else. So there's no need to wrap it again.
All right, I think we're gonna wrap there. Thanks, Krishna, for presenting. Really interesting project.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Krishna.
Yeah.
Cool project.
Thank you.
Next up is NotReal. Oh, jumping right into it. If you're ready to go ahead.
Hey, this is NotReal.ai for the MarketMake hackathon, and let me tell you about my project. So, NotReal.ai is an AI art market on Ethereum, and the reason I'm building this is because I believe that the intersection of generative AI and curation markets on Ethereum is going to be huge. Some of the problems with existing NFT markets is huge oversupply, lack of underlying value, foggy price discovery, and of course, high fees. So let me show you what I built for the hackathon. This is the auction interface. So, cool. So you see this is a 2D interpolator for the AI generated cats. And what we have here is a grid of NFTs that are being minted at a fixed rate. So there's a fixed supply and each one is available for only 24 hours. And I believe this structured method is a very good way of finding price discovery for these otherwise hard to price items. So this is the interface. It's on Matic. So for fast fees, fast and cheap fees. And I'm also adding a network agnostic transactions soon so that people won't even know that they're on layer 2. So yeah, so that's the interface. And real quick, I just wanted to show you what some of the possibilities are. So these are AI generated paintings. These are AI generated cars. And this next one is a custom model that I trained on various art that I found interesting on the internet. So that's just some of the possibilities. And so to tell you a little bit more about it, so it's built on Matic with network agnostic transactions. Going to be adding staking on Aave so that part of your purchase price is locked up, and also all the bids that are locked up are earning interest, which gives inherent value to the NFT. And then also the first purchaser of an NFT will get a 2% royalty on the item for life, which means that the platform, it won't be taking fees. It will go to curators. So I just want to go with you down the rabbit hole for a second. what if NFTs become not just collectible items, but actual collectible storefronts? So when you collect an NFT, you also acquire a whole printing business, t-shirt printing, poster printing. And imagine one day if generative AI is used to design a new 3D model for a chair, and that chair is printed for you and then shipped on demand. So that's the future I imagine, marrying curation markets and price discovery with generative AI. So thank you very much. I post daily art on Twitter and Instagram, so make sure to follow me there, and thanks very much.
Yeah, this is very interesting, especially the 50% of the proceeds being locked up and then staked on Aave. I'm not sure if I've seen anything like that before in NFT space. So that's really interesting because, like what you said, it gives some other like inherent value to these NFTs other than just the art itself. And you mentioned that 2% royalty. Are all of the art okay? I'm assuming all of the art that or the generative AI or AI generated images are created by you at the moment, but in the future you're going to be allowing other artists to generate these images. And if so, like, are you going to provide the platform to make it easy for them to maybe train a model and then generate these images themselves, or are you just assuming that people figure out how to do that on their own?
If you're answering, you're muted.
Sorry, can you hear me now? All right, so yeah, one of the reasons I invested time in that 2D interpolator is one day I want this company to be building very easy tools for interacting with generative AI and designing generative AI. So definitely, like, building tools is one of the things I want to do, and turning it into a platform for other artists is also something I'd like to do one day. You know, Shopify started off by just opening their own like ski and snowboard store, and then they opened it as a platform. So I sort of see the path as, you know, making it successful as a standalone store first, and then making it into a platform. So.
Very cool. Very cool.
How did you build this? Did you like clone a marketplace and fork a marketplace and use that?
Yeah, so I forked Known Origin. So they had an MIT licensed marketplace with audited contracts and some front end. But everything that you saw on the front end that there was custom, and then I had to do a lot of adjustments to it. So I'm very grateful for them as a base, but I added a lot to that.
Yeah, I'm curious, like, what did you spend the most time on technically?
So during this hackathon, it was all the auction interface, so that grid, and then also basically hooking that up to the smart contracts and the various like bid states and that sort of thing.
It would be interesting to take a look into AI files, but the repository is empty.
Yeah, there's a lot of code involved, and I want to I want to push it all up. I have a whole bunch of like kind of junk committed, and I have to do a lot of cleaning in my Git repository. But yeah, is there a particular part you'd like me to push up to view?
Just push everything what you did, so okay. I can take a look.
Okay. Any other questions?
One thing you mentioned was that there's a limited number that are auctioned off per period. How did you come to that number of auction?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of an arbitrary thing, but I know that CryptoKitties, when they were doing their initial sale, they were doing one every 15 minutes. And I basically arbitrarily chose like something a little bit less than that, like maybe one every 30 minutes or one every hour. Yeah, there isn't really a great way to decide how much. I just didn't want it to be like so much that it flooded the supply.
Okay, yeah, I guess that makes sense, and you can tweak that later on, I'm guessing.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, yeah, I think that's a pretty good
Cool.
overview of the project. Any other final comments?
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, so that was our 4th project, and I think we had scheduled a break for judges if they want to. I'm going to just give it as an option if you guys want to like convene in that other Google Meet just to chat about the last 4 projects. Do you want to do this, yes or no? Judges? May? All right, we can do
on it.
All right, we can do one towards the halfway mark, just so you guys can connect on projects and just share your thoughts. All right. Next up is NFLend, and I think they're already promoted, so I'll let them get started right away.
Hi.
Hey.
Everybody.
Hi, guys.
I am brave.
Can't hear it. It's too quiet. You know, jack
Yeah,
up
why
the
don't you try
volume.
that again with to share the sound.
Okay, sure.
Also, I have a feeling that you're going to be hearing from the lawyers fairly quickly.
Let me try like this. Lending. Hi, everyone. Better. I'm grateful to introduce you NFL, non-fungible lending, which is our hack with Peter, Zero Dot, and Adam. So what is NFL? Basically, it's a market maker, non-custodial, that allow borrowers to create borrower requests with their NFT as a collateral, which is our main innovation. And in the other part, lenders can lend and delegate part of their credit delegation to those borrowers. So the advantage for the lender is that they can maintain exposure to their collateral, benefit from additional yield paid by the borrower, and they bear the risk on an NFT. So we code, and especially Zero Dots. So this is what we have done. Here you have the main functions. And for instance, NFT depositor will need to add the currency he wants to borrow, the amount. The APR is ready to pay for that. And our design is quite efficient, we think. And to begin with, the lender that delegates the credit will need to pay the APR on the Aave platform. So the APR that is paid to him by the NFT, the borrower, will need to be bigger than this APR. Let's move to the design part, which is one of our main focus, to offer a decent user experience. So when you come on the dashboard, you can see what you need to pay, the threshold also of your debt, for instance, to make sure you pay in high frequency. You can see what you have deposited so far. You can also, just see the historic of what you have borrowed. And for instance, yes, you can leverage also. So there you see the NFT you got, and the one you can use, to get a loan. So for instance, I would like to loan this beautiful crypto kitty. So I estimate the value. I want USDC. I'm ready to pay 15 APR. I know that also the lender will pay the APR on Aave, and I get my loan, the threshold. On the other part of the market, you can see the NFT that are deposit and what are the proposal debt. So yes, you can see the summary and just select fixed APR or variable, whatever you prefer. So as you can see, we move quick on the back, the front, but we still need to do the connections. So this is our final step that we will do ASAP. It was an amazing project. We will continue working on it, and we'll hope you like it and will use it. Thank you.
Thank you. How were you determining the estimated value for the NFT?
So I'm going to take that question. So the estimated value for the NFT, this is actually a problem we ran into this is a pretty big headache, right? How do you get the appropriate price for an NFT, right? Because that's something that's relatively illiquid. So we decided that instead of trying to tackle that problem, the actual amount that's input as estimated value is arbitrary. It's input by the borrower. However, the lender, it's on the lender to check the NFT to verify that it's a legitimate NFT. You've got the address, you've got the OpenSea, you've got everything. So yeah, that's what we meant when we said the lender does have to bear the risk of the NFT.
I see, gotcha.
And how did you determine the differential between the Aave interest and the interest on the platform?
Yeah, so we have actually gone through 3 designs of the smart contracts. One of them actually took the variable APR from Aave because it was a bit more complicated to take the stable APR because that's different for each person, but the variable is consistent. And actually added a fixed coupon on top of that. And that was cool, but the problem is, well, other than being a little bit more gassy, we also had, it was a bit complicated for lenders or for borrowers because you wouldn't be able to know what your actual loan will be, right? So we decided to take it simple for now. Obviously we can do that, but we decided to take it simple. The APR is actually determined by in the borrower request. So it's on also the lender to check. Obviously you can choose to delegate stable if you want, right? We give that option. So that's essentially how we do it. It's not actually connected in this current iteration that we're working on. It's not connected to the Aave APR. If that makes sense.
So yeah, say that again. Sorry.
So essentially, we're not taking into consideration the APR on Aave, but lenders can delegate stable credit and get their own fixed APR and make the difference between the borrower request APR and the loan APR or APY. Right?
One interesting thing might be like Yield Protocol had this thing where you could like flash loan your thing into like the maker, like your maker CDP or vault or whatever they call it now, into a yield thing. So, potentially something to look at if you.
I do like flash loans.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it might solve some of your problem there, just like making it a stable thing.
Actually, not a bad idea.
I think you mentioned as part of your closing slide that you still need to wire up the front and back ends. Anything besides that, like what you want to pursue next?
Well, on the back end side, at least, we, there's a bunch of new projects in the NFT space, like NFTX, for instance, right? And these are opening up a lot of new doors, right? Because one of the biggest problems with this is it's more or less peer-to-peer, right? You have one borrower request and one lender. And DeFi likes pools of stuff. So we want to see if we can turn it into a pooled model eventually, right? Longer term, that might be really interesting. Of course, then there's the question of how do you determine the price? We need Oracle, make sure it's not manipulatable, flash loans, whatever, everything. But it's on the radar.
Yeah, I mean, that might be possible for semi-fungible tokens, like items in games or something, like Stone of Jordan or something.
And there's also assets that have, currency backing them as well, like Avigotris and stuff like that too, right? There's a lot of options.
Cool. Good stuff, guys.
Thanks.
Great stuff.
Right on time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys. Next up, we have the Watchful Eye, and I think they're already here, so they can start whenever they're ready.
Hey, everybody. Not sure I actually shared sound, so let me reshare.
Just ad lib it, see how close you get.
This is the Watchful Eye. The Watchful Eye allows Aave debt holders to set an automated stop loss based on the risk factors of their loans. The Watchful Eye uses an oracle that monitors the prices of the debt and collateral and compares it to the user-defined stop loss. Once the stop loss is reached, the oracle calls upon the Watchful Eye to use an Aave flash loan to repay the pre-existing debt, swap the collateral for the flash loaned asset on the 1-inch DEX, and then repay the flash loan asset with the proceeds from the swap.
To use the Watchful Eye, a user must first take out a loan on the Aave protocol. When the user comes to the dashboard, they can see their total debt in ETH, their total collateral in ETH, and their loan health factor, or their Aave health factor. Just for the viewer's sake, in our wallet, we have 10 DAI, which we borrowed from Aave, and we have 10 A-Link, which is our collateral on Aave. So first, the user has to specify the details of the position that they hold on Aave. And as we showed a minute ago, the debt we have is in DAI. The collateral we have is A-Link. And we have 10 DAI in debt. And let's liquidate one A-Link if we cross our threshold, because that's worth about $25 and that'll cover the debt. And let's say our debt price limit for DAI is usually around 1. Let's just put 1. And let's say that when the link goes below $28, which right now it is, we want to go ahead and liquidate. So let's configure the eye with the information. That just adds that information to the Watchful Eye contract. Confirm. Then we have to approve of the eye's intervention, which just means that the smart contract can move around the collateral asset. So go ahead and confirm that transaction. So after we've approved and set up the Watchful Eye, we can actually go to the Watchful Eye contract, and we can go and look at the Watchful Eye. Here's the Watchful Eye. And it's not really human readable at the moment, but that's just the way that it comes back from the blockchain. So now that we see that the smart contract has the Watchful Eye that we created a second ago, we can check out the price oracle. And the price oracle, as we said before, monitors the current price of the debt and the asset and compares it to the Watchful Eye's set price limits. So let's go ahead and start that oracle up. So we see that the oracle pulled the Watchful Eye, saw that the price was below the limit, started to liquidate the position, and then successfully liquidated the position watched by the Watchful Eye. And now that the liquidation is finished, we can verify that that debt was paid off in our wallet. And would you look at that? We no longer, we have one less A-Link and 25 more DAI. So we paid off the initial debt and had a little bit of DAI left over. And aside from what we saw in the wallet, if you check the Aave user data, as shown on the dashboard, we can see that that loan was in fact paid off. And this is the Watchful Eye. And the Watchful Eye is always watching.
So you decided to build this to scratch your own itch, I'm guessing?
It was actually one of the 1-inch like ideas, and both of us were brand new to doing any kind of development on Ethereum. So it was kind of the lowest hanging fruit, I guess.
I have a question. One sec from my side. Why you didn't use our API and used the old one split version?
So we couldn't figure out how to make that, because the flash loan has to be finished in one transaction. We couldn't figure out how to and we asked around a little bit, and we just actually at first we had like a mock contract that acted like 1inch, like to do the swap, but when we moved towards doing the actual swap on the forked mainnet, we couldn't figure out how to do the how to use the main API for 1inch within our smart contract, or how that would happen within one transaction.
Okay, thanks.
So in hindsight, I mean, this seems like a very obvious idea, right? Using flash loans to self-liquidate. Is there like any instances of this actually like happening right now in the network? Like people using, flash loans to self-liquidate?
I think that I'm not sure of the name of the protocol, but I believe that there is a protocol that does it right now. I can't remember the name of it.
DeFi Saver. DeFi Saver.
Yeah, DeFi Saver. Yeah.
Thanks.
So you all said you were new to ETH development. Like, what were the challenges? What was surprising? Getting 1inch API to work, of course.
Yeah, that was well, both of us are like we're still like we haven't we just started programming like a little over a year ago, 2 years ago. So we took what we've learned in the past 2 years, which is like building things incrementally. Like the hardest part was we had no clue how do we connect all of these different contracts or protocols together in our own contract, and that's why we started off like incrementally building it as if, or not as if, we built it first as we kind of set up a couple of mock contracts that would simulate the debt repayment and then the token swap, and then once we finished that, like that was hard enough as is, figuring out like how do we communicate with other contracts. Then we figured out how do we communicate with just 1inch, or how do we communicate with just Aave, and we were able to do that in like a modular kind of way because of how we built the code out initially. So it was just like going step by step and figuring out how do we swap out the mock contract that we made with the actual thing. And I would say that the hardest part of it was figuring out how to fork mainnet, and we had no clue that was a thing until last Wednesday. So yeah.
If you were to continue working on this, what are some of the features that you would add in the future?
Well, first of all, we'd like to, right now the Oracle is just a script that we run. It's just a centralized script. What we would like to do is take that Oracle and use Chainlink to call a certain function every certain number of seconds. We haven't really thought about that much. And given that a certain field, given that we have a position that could be liquidated, then the Oracle will make that flash loan call, make that liquidation call. And also right now the Watchful Eye can only hold like one person's or one user's information, and we'd like to extend that to allow as many people that want to use the application at once to use it. Yeah.
I also like seeing every time somebody uses scaffold ETH. I'm sure Austin would be very appreciative. You should let him know that your experience using it and any suggestions you might have, because he loves hearing about people using it, especially during hackathons.
Yeah.
Definitely reach out to him. I think that's it. We're going to wrap up with this team and move on to the next one. Thanks again, Watchful Eye. Great stuff.
Thank you, guys.
Cool, guys. Congrats on.
Your audio's a little shaky there, Evan. All right. So next up we have Let's see, Sunny. I'm not sure what the project name is, but I'm going to share the video. And then just after this project, we will take a 10-minute break. This will be sort of our halfway mark for everybody. Sunny, just let me know if you are ready to go, and I can share the video.
Hey, Trent. I can hear you. Oh, you can play the video.
Yep, I can do that for you.
Yeah.
Evan, are you good? Looks like Evan is frozen. We'll wait a second for him to come back.
Does my internet still seem bad?
Yeah, you could just turn off your video for now. That should be, maybe that'll help a little bit. All right, we're going to jump right into it.
Hello, hi, I am Sunny Radadiya. So this is my MarketMake ETHGlobal submission. So I developed a calculator for the DeFi. So it measures the past historical performance of the DeFi platform. So user can analyze the past data, and if user so user can invest on the platform. So here currently I used the graph protocol. And using the graph protocol, I used existing subgraph protocol of SushiSwap, Uniswap initially, and then I will be integrate more protocols. So what happened in our project? So user can calculate the past historical data of the any pair of the any platform, like for Uniswap, right? So currently here you can see 3 months back the data. So here you can see ROI chart in the percentage, ROI chart in the dollars. So okay, so if user has invested $10,000 3 months back, so now he has 20,000. Okay, so if user has $10,000 back, so now he has 20,000. So total ROI would be 108%. And what is the asset change? So currently user initially user has invested. So here is something mistake. W should be here, and USDT should be upper side. So that was a minor mistake. But yeah, no, sorry. So what will the asset change? So currently user has invested 10 ETH and the $5,000 worth of USDT. Okay, now asset change was, so now if you withdraw the LP position from the Uniswap, so now you will get 6 ETH 6.3 and the 10,000 worth of the amount of the USDT. So this is the asset change. So WETH asset change goes minus, and the USDT asset change goes plus, and the total ROI goes plus, and what will be the total amount you will get? 20,000 to 10,000 will be your profit. Okay, so this is the ROI chart in the percentage and the dollars. Okay, that's it. And you can also add the date for the any year, like here I add January. Okay, and submit. So now data will be changed. So as you can see, data is changed. Okay, yeah, here you can see chart is also changed. So you can also do for the Uniswap SushiSwap. Okay, so now if you go the Uniswap platform, and if you do for like currently I add only 2 pairs, each USDT, each DAI. Okay, now if you want to check for any other pair, so you have to paste over here pair address. Okay, like then like okay, and currently have to set the date like 1. Okay, and that amount, whatever amount you want to invest, like 10,000, so submit. So here it is saying, like if I invest $10,000 on 1st January 2021, then my profit would be like 15,000 now. Okay, I didn't invest it, but it just show. So what will be the impermanent loss and till now from the 1st January? What will be the asset change in WH in percentage in the amount also? Like currently, initially I invested 6 ETH, and yeah, here you can see the chart and all. And the popular 8 pair I have already calculated over here, each USDT, each DAI, and also for $10,000 and 3 months back. And if you want to change over here, so you can change from here also for each USDT. Okay, and for the sushi swap also. Yeah, so platform basic motto is to if your user wants to analyze the past historical data, and now from the past historical data, if he wants to invest, so he can invest by analyzing the data. So that's it. Thank you.
Hi, Sunny. I think it'd be so the ROI does not include impermanent loss, right? I'm assuming because you know, in the example that you gave, if the user held on to ETH and USD instead of supplying to Uniswap, they would be making $5,000 more, just because the price of ETH balloons so much versus like supplying liquidity, and you would be making 10,000. You know, basically be 10,000 versus 15,000. Like, is that surfaced in the dashboard? Because I think they'll be what a lot of people are thinking about when, you know, when they're thinking about supplying liquidity to AMMs. So is that surfaced? And if so, if not, then like, is there a way to see it on your platform?
Sorry, Parajkim, I didn't get your question, but sorry.
The question was, okay, so like because of impermanent loss, in the example they gave about supplying ETH and USDT into Uniswap in June, if you just held onto ETH and USDT, like you would have $5,000 more of gains just because the price of ETH ballooned so much, right? Is that included in the ROI calculation today? If not, is there a way to see it in your website today?
Yeah, if you like currently it is showing the data, like if you I also show the impermanent loss, like if you held the data, if you hold the $10,000 other than invest, so it is also showing the impermanent loss if you go to the Uniswap tab. So like so I'm going to be, I already implemented, like if you didn't like, it is showing impermanent loss, but in meanwhile I will also able to implement that if I was not able, if I didn't or like what say, like I didn't invest it, then this much amount of like
I see. Okay, so the input
sorry,
is always in USD, and so the input is always in USD, and like you can't specify like maybe 50% USD, 50% ETH as a starting point.
Yes, yeah. Currently, input given USD, so it will automatically break the percentage 50-50.
I see. Okay.
I have one question. Do you take into account the amount which you entered in the demo? So because if I put like 10 millions in 5 million liquidity pool, so the APY is getting lower. Yeah. So are you taking into account this case?
Yeah, you are saying if I add the more value other than $10,000, then the APY may get yeah. So
it gets
yeah,
worse.
Currently,
yeah.
when I add the while testing, when I add the more value instead $10,000, so it's showing me very weird. So now, like I didn't know that. Sorry, my English is that.
Okay, I got it. I guess you didn't take it into account, but it makes sense to do that. I guess we did 2019 similar thing with calculating the APYs or APR. It drops if you put more money into the pool because it performs than maybe with the same performance, but there are more people who would like to get the money from the earnings. But the idea is great. I like this. I would like to get in touch with you if you like. Just ping me on Telegram.
Yeah, sure. Sure, sure. I will try to connect you. Like I'll definitely try to connect you.
Awesome.
That's
Any final comments, questions?
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, with a few more tweaks, I think this could be an incredibly useful tool to a lot of people. So thank you.
I'm sorry, my internet is not good and my English is not that good, so I was not able to explain it better. Sorry for that.
No worries, man.
No,
I
we
think
got it. Yeah,
you
we
can
got
see
it.
you can see the potential of the project and what you submitted. So good job, and looking forward to see if you keep working on it. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thank you.
All right, we're going to move on to the next project. Actually, I'm sorry. This is when we were going to take a quick 10-minute break. Sorry for rug pulling everybody, but we're going to take a quick break, 10 minutes, just to reset. And then back after the break, we will have Governor Alpha Vote Splitter start us off. So 10-minute break, and then we will restart. All right, looks like we've got 2 of 3 judges left. Sergej, if you're here, just drop it in the chat or turn on your video and then we can get started.
Yeah, I'm here. I have some troubles with the camera, but
no, that's fine.
That's fine.
All right, so we're going to jump back into it. We're a little bit more than halfway through all the projects. So thank you to everybody who's presented so far. And we're just going to keep going with the next project, which is Governor Alpha Vote. And I think Monet Supply is going to start us off here.
All right. Well, thanks for having us. I'm going to be presenting on behalf of the Tally team. Let me just share my screen real quick. Sorry, bear with me one moment. Sorry about this.
You having issues? I can share.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dennison
There you
Bertram,
go.
and this is Team Tally, and we are presenting to you today our teammates, Raf, Nate, Natasha, and myself, and our project, Vote Splitting.
So the impetus behind the project, Compound and Aave governance use checkpoints to apportion voting power based on the tokens you hold at the time the proposal is started, but this prevents users from transferring or selling votes mid-proposal, and passive users also have no way of buying votes if they're not interested in voting in the protocol themselves. So our hackathon project is a mechanism to allow vote transfers during proposals, as well as selling non-voting interests in governance tokens.
Here's a diagram of how it works. So the vote splitter contract at left side takes a governance token like comp from the top right and creates a vault, which is the blue box in the middle. The user who created a vault locks their comp and they get back 2 things, a non-fungible vault token and as many fungible wrapped comp tokens as they put in comp tokens. The vault has the power to vote and delegate on the underlying governance until it eventually expires. And the wrapped comp is used to close out the vault to get back the underlying token.
Now I will share how you will use it. For example, let's say we have some comp and we will need to deposit, like, let's say 1 comp for it to create a vault. And then we will have the access to the vaults before they expire to vote with them using this NFT that we can sell in OpenSea or trade on other platforms. Then what you're gonna do is after it expires or after you decide to close it, you will have to send your approve to send back the wrap token to the vault so you can get back your comp.
So this has been our presentation. If you have any questions, our GitHub for both the front end and our protocol that we built on the back end is available. And you can ask us any further information in our GitHub. Thank you.
All right. Any questions? Happy to go over with you guys.
What inspired it? Anything in specific, or?
Sorry, you muted yourself.
Yeah, you're muted, Monet.
I have a something going on in the background.
Yeah, when you share your video, it autoplays the next video. It happens to me all the time for these sessions. Were you able to fix that?
You're muted again. Maybe purposely, maybe not. I don't know.
Okay, really sorry about that. So yeah, I got the sound to turn off now. I can hear you guys.
Cool. So I think Evan's question was, what was the inspiration?
I think the inspiration was just basically that a lot of holders prefer to kind of take a passive interest in these protocols. So they, if you're having a small amount of comp, you might not actually even have it be economical for you to vote. It costs too much. And this gives passive users kind of a way to have economic interest in the protocol without having voting interest. Basically, when you put in comp and you get the NFT that votes, and then you get the wrapped comp that doesn't vote. The theory is that the wrapped comp, you'd be able to buy it at a discount as like a passive user, and then after the expiry date, you can turn it in for real comp. So it's like a way to earn yield on your comp rather than voting.
How is this different from delegating to somebody in the compound system? I mean, I understand it's clearly different, like you have a different architecture, but can't smaller users just delegate to larger proxies?
They could. That's not incentivized per se. So like they'd have to pay gas to delegate, and then their 10 comp or whatever it is just going to continue to be 10 comp in perpetuity. But theoretically, instead they could buy like the non-voting comp from somebody that they support, who's going to hold on to those votes, but for less than the price of the amount of like wrapped comp they buy. So it's probably more for people who, maybe even aren't interested in delegating. They just purely want economic exposure.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
could you explain to me again how people are incentivized to participate in the system?
Yeah, so if you want to get more voting power, basically you would be minting an NFT and then selling the T comp off to somebody else. So you can kind of get like leverage on your voting power. Presumably the price people will be willing to pay for the non-voting comp will be less. So you end up having like a premium that you're paying to get that extra voting power. And then that's the incentive for other people to purchase the non-voting shares. That, if you buy wrapped comp that can't vote for a year for 90 cents on the dollar, then you just made like a 10% yield.
Might be an interesting warning signal of an attack too, right? Because you say like you expect there to be a discount, but if there is not a discount, then there's a sign that people are, all of a sudden valuing it more.
It could be. I think that it also kind of, it will make maybe governance rethink their strategies a little bit about preventing attacks, because I think part of the security of comp-based governance is that you can't move votes around after a proposal starts. But if it's in a transferable NFT that has the voting power, you could like list it on OpenSea if there's like a contentious proposal and somebody could swoop them all up. So yeah, I think it definitely raises some interesting questions.
Makes me think of renting hash power on NiceHash. You can see spikes whenever there's a 51% attack or something.
How much is the gas? I assume that's a decent bit of gas if I'm going to buy a bunch of voting power using an NFT.
Yeah, I'm not certain what the gas is, but I'm sure it's considerable. It'd probably only be worthwhile for somebody to do it with like 10,000 or more.
Everything is considerable these days.
Well, yeah, sorry for the AV issues earlier though, and thanks for having us.
No worries. Any final comments, Sergej?
Yeah, it sounds great, the idea. So it's could be maybe an additional market for the DeFi space, and yeah, also a solution maybe to create a tax on governance. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, combining this with flash loans may have some interesting outcome.
All right. I think that's it for this team. Thank you guys for presenting. It's always nice to see like a simple project that, I mean, it's simple on the surface, but the implications are a little bit larger, you know? So good job there. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the future, how people take this, or hopefully not too many attacks, but you know, we'll see. That's the way the crypto space goes.
Cool
So
project.
we're gonna move on to the next project. That would be ENS Analytics with Sarvesh.
Yes, hello everyone. I'll just share my screen.
Great.
Is it visible?
Yes.
Hello everyone. I have built this ENS Analytics dashboard. So this dashboard does some. Is it audible also? I think I stopped.
Nope, it was going.
Okay. Analytics on ENS dataset and help us track the life cycle of any ENS domain. So going to the technical diagram. So I have these three main components for this project. I'm getting the data from ENS subgraph from the graph. I'm storing that data into PostgreSQL, and I'm running complex SQL queries to build to generate the data set that I require for the charts. And at the end, I have the dashboard which runs on this PostgreSQL database. This dashboard is ENS dashboard. To quickly go to the dashboard features, so I have four main features on the dashboard. The top level is aggregation matrix. So at the top, I have total number of ENS domains available in the Ethereum. Then I have two monthly trend charts. So this shows number of new ENS domain registered compared to the last month. Similarly, number of domains getting expired this month compared to the last one. This is aggregation matrix. The second chart is about funnel chart. This is interesting because this chart helps us understand what is the dominance of owner in terms of domain ownership. So let's say I as the owner in the ENS system, how many domains I own. So funnel chart explains the percentage of owners actually dominate the ownership of ENS domains. Similarly, I have the chart for domain life cycle of any ENS domain, and we can also filter the dashboard based on domain name and owner's name. So let's quickly go to the dashboard and see a quick demo on that. So here is the dashboard. So it's hosted on the web, and we have loading. Yeah, so we have a couple of charts here. So starting from the left side, we have this ETH total number. We have a chart which says number of domains exist on the Ethereum blockchain. Then we have this trend charts. It tells last month we have 5158 new domain registration. This month 2576. So it's a 50% decline from the last month. Similarly, we have another trend chart which says that last month the domain expiry was 2262. This month it's 1846. Yeah. The second chart is funnel analytics. So it tells the number of domains owned by the owners. So total 18,613 owners own 2+ domains in the system. Now, out of this, 47%, which is 8885, owns the 4+ domains. So on the rightmost side of the chart, these are the big whales in the system. So these are like 784 such owners who own 64+ domains. So this chart helps us see the domain distribution among them, things like that. So these are so here we have pagination, so we can see all the domains available. Right. Now we also have this filter where we can search any of the domain that we want. So I know one domain that I can search. So I have this depth period.eth domain. I added a filter on that. So I can see the depth period.eth domain was registered at this block number, and it was again renewed at this block number. So similarly, we can do filter on the owner's address. So we can do 0x, any address. It's also not a complete. Yeah. So here it shows all the addresses. We can actually select and add an. Yeah. So this is this address has this domain registered and it has this events. We also have this GitHub repository where we have documented everything. So all the charts that we have, and also which subgraph entities we are taking data from, and the Postgres tables we are storing data in, and the SQL queries around the same.
Yeah, that's it for the demo set.
Very cool. I'm curious if you had a chance to talk with ENS at all.
Yes, actually, I built this dashboard by discussing with them. So they already had some sort of initial dashboard that they were using, but they do not have something which can tell them that what is the dominance of any owner in the ENS system. So identifying the big wells and the small wells in the system, things like that. And also they wanted to track the ENS lifecycle. They didn't have that feature yet. So yeah, that's why I built that.
Maybe I missed it, but do you support subdomains? Do you have any thoughts about doing that?
Yeah, so current dashboard just supports the top level domain, but I have all the data set that is required. So I need to put them into the charts. That's next steps.
What would you say is the number one interesting thing that you learned while building this?
Yeah, what I learned majorly here is I was looking into multiple projects. One of them, Aave was there, ENS was there. So I was looking into those analytics metrics that I can see, and those are common to all of this DeFi and all the dApps across the Ethereum. And is there something I can build a sort of framework or platform which could be used for all of this, platforms, and see these funnel charts, or maybe let's say for Aave, it's a user retention chart, right? So how many users are coming and taking flash loan every month or every year or every quarter, things like that. So so with this project, I got that kind of ideas and that kind of learning.
From my side, I can say it's great to have such tools also for ENS, for discovery. It's like the Explorer, right? And mocks and a dashboard. Yeah, I like this idea.
Thank you.
All right. Any comments from Pete? Otherwise, I think we can wrap up. Thanks for presenting, Sergej.
Yeah, I already made a comment, but yeah.
Oh, sorry. I must have missed it.
Cool. Congrats. Neat dash.
Thank you.
Good job. Yeah.
All right, the next project is APYin, and they can start whenever they're ready.
Hi. Hello, and welcome to this APYin presentation. What is APYin, you're asking? Basically, it is a FOMO machine. You come to the site, you connect your wallet, we scan it for ID.
Should I be hearing audio?
I can't hear the sound either.
Or how about now?
Why don't you try to reshare, but with the sound again?
Yep.
It's a little checkbox in the bottom left.
Yeah, pretty sure I did that, but Zoom is acting weird today. Let me try it again. And now I can't.
If you're having issues, I can share it for you.
Let me try this. So now I can't see. I can't get it back. Oh, okay, there we go. Can you hear it now?
Hello, and welcome to this APYin presentation.
Is that fine?
It's pretty quiet.
Let me.
What is APYin you're at?
Is that good?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Hello, and welcome to this APYin presentation. What is APYin you're asking? Basically, it is a FOMO machine. You come to the site, you connect your wallet. We scan it for idle assets, and we calculate and display how much US dollar you would have earned if this asset was sitting in an other lending pool instead of just sitting on your wallet. Why did we choose to do that? So while the other site is really nice and easy to use, the amount of historical data for how the different pools have performed in the past is limited. So you see here there is this 30-day average that I think was recently added. And you have some data for the present day over here, but that's it. So we knew that we wanted to do something with historical APY, and we decided to cater to the DeFi newcomers. As a DeFi noob, you are overwhelmed with all this new terminology and different ways to make or lose money. So we thought that a good first step would be to see some hard numbers that were calculated based on your wallet data. And then based on that, you can decide if you want to ape in or chicken out. Let's see what that looks like. Over here, we got the different assets that have been idle in your wallet. Here we have the APY that you would have enjoyed if these assets were on Aave. And here we have the return in USD. Based on these numbers, then you can click on this link and you get redirected to the Aave lending pool. Now, if you click on this plus sign, you will see this chart that shows the USD with Aave for this certain asset and USD without Aave. You will notice that unless you've been holding a big amount of token for a long time, this chart doesn't look that impressive. So in the end, this turned out to be a product for whales, but that's also fine. The bottom line is we had a lot of fun developing that, gathered a lot of experience on how to get the data and calculate the historical APY. And we will definitely use that experience in new projects. Thank you for your time and your attention. Have a great day.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
we can just move to judge questions.
And the obvious one is like, what inspired it? What made you decide to do this?
yeah. So as I said in the video, it was just a good way to show people how much money they would have made, like to try to lure them in basically into yeah, getting into the DeFi world.
Yeah. Like you had a friend that you wanted to convince, so you figured like, hey, I'll make a site for them.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the plan.
Yeah, that's a cool use case actually.
Thanks.
It'd be interesting if you also displayed, how much it costs, like in gas, to ape into these lending pools, and also what was the hardest thing like that you encountered? Like, what was the most difficult task when you're building this?
It was actually getting the data from the graph because so the subgraph that we chose to use, there were some inconsistencies. So I think in March, the ETH to USD price was changed to USD to ETH or the other way around. So that was, figured it out, but it was kind of tricky to figure out. And yeah, otherwise went pretty smoothly.
One question from my side. So you write here that you send notifications via SMS and email. Did you implement SMS?
No, I don't think you. Is that the right project?
I guess yes. I'm not sure. Okay, then.
Okay.
Maybe a feature for the future, SMS notifications.
Okay, we'll get on that.
Actually, yeah, you're right. I opened the wrong.
Yeah, all good. So actually another feature that takes into account the gas prices would be the break even. So in how much time you will break even depending on today's gas prices. But again, with today's gas prices, this will, unless you're a whale, this is gonna take a long time. So yeah.
Cool.
Neat project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Yeah, thank you for presenting. We're going to move on to the next project, and that would be Yaka. And you can start whenever you are ready to go.
Hello there. A second.
Hey, David.
Yeah, here.
I don't think you shared your sound properly.
Sorry?
Why don't you retry it and share your sound?
Now, yeah.
In the bottom left, there's a checkbox.
Yeah. Okay. Now, everyone, thank you for your time. First of all, let me introduce to you our small team that has been working together for the past weeks. David, myself, as a financial product manager, Alex, our lovely smart contract developer, and Nico as our DeFi innovation advisor. We have been building an MVP of what we call interest as a service platform, and what we think is the first product we can offer, aiming to help the masses to start using finally Aave from an easy to use an app where we call no loss investing. So our product can be simplified in 3 easy steps. So we have the user depositing into the Yaka finance platform and picks a strategy from lower to higher yields and risk, of course. Then from the interest generated, our smart contract allocates the service the user had chosen. So, for example, the strategies can be keep compounding the interest. That's an easy one, but it will keep going until the user decides. Reinvesting the interest into indexes like DPI, for example, or NFTX or whatever. But in this case, using a dollar cost average strategy. So we keep buying every week for the user. Or even, that could be very interesting, we could actually be a gateway of paying subscription services from the interest generated from Aave. Well, despite of the lack of time, we've been able to deploy a small part of what we aim to build. let me show you, or actually Alex gonna show you how it works.
Here we have our simple frontend. And first of all, we created an ERC20 token called Yaka. This token value will be equal to a DAI, so if the user deposits 10 DAIs, we will give him back 10 Yaka DAIs. As you can see here, we have two boxes. The first one in which we can deposit our DAI in the system, and in return we will receive the same amount in Yaka DAIs. The second box is used to deposit the Yaka DAIs in order to retrieve the DAI. The Yaka DAIs will be minted when the user deposits the DAIs, and will be burned when the user deposits the Yaka DAIs into our platform. And here you can see that we have 19 DAIs and 110 Yaka DAIs into our wallet. To do this presentation, we will use the MetaMask, and well, we will provide the system with 10 DAIs. First of all, we need to confirm the approval, and then the transaction to the smart contract. As you can see here, the amount of our wallet refreshed, and now we have 80 DAIs and 120 Yaka DAIs, and the system has 10 DAIs. These DAIs that the system has will be sent every day to Aave in order to earn an APYin. This part is not working yet because we had some troubles with the deployment of the Aave in our testnet.
Just to finish, like everyone is saying, well, the hardest thing to find in DeFi is to find an easy user experience, right? To capture the newcomers, the masses. So we aim to keep building this product, believing this is the tool for these newcomers, and to finally get them to the crypto ecosystem. So thank you for your time. We are ready for your questions. Thank you.
So I hate to be that guy, but you know, you got PayPal and credit cards on there. How are you going to deal with chargebacks?
Actually, yeah, that's the good question, right? If you want the adoption, it's actually taken from Taurus. So, and if we think that, of course, Aave gonna have the banking license, and they can be actually their own ramp. So why not, right? I mean, the adoption have to be from this side, I guess. Right, it's taken from Taurus, so.
So the answer is you're separating your concerns. You're not actually doing onboarding or on-ramping, right?
No.
You're leaving that to Taurus. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Of course, we know that we started pretty late, and it's the beginning. Of course, we will keep building it, but the idea is actually this, right? So we learned that there's a lot of innovation around here. We think that the adoption have to be the other side, and we want to focus from here.
Gotcha.
From my side, I can say the idea is great. Once we implemented also Lightning and the interest, what we got, we used for paying for gas costs for transfers of the GDAI token. Mm-hmm. So actually, you have kind of like build a framework where you can just put everything behind that, right? So,
yeah. We said that actually, like our DAI model, right? We can just send that to wherever we want. Even we can actually use it for payments, I guess, right? So if we focus that we have deposited 1,000, and with that we get enough to pay Netflix, so it goes there, right? So yeah, interest service.
Yeah, so in the deck, you mentioned that the users can pick a strategy, more risky or less risky. But in the actual demo, I think I saw like just a way, like only one way, like a way to convert DAI to Yaka DAI. So how are people choosing their strategy?
Yeah, that would be, of course, with the in the front after depositing, but yeah, it should be you choose one strategy, so it's the strategy, and then later you choose where you want to allocate that, right? So it's once it's deposited, you decide in which smart contract going to be actually sent that Yaka DAI to a DAI or CDAI or wherever. Make sense?
Oh, okay. I see. Okay, I thought the Yaka DAI, like the value of Yaka DAI, changes based on the strategy. I mean,
No,
changes based on traits that are placed as part of the ecosystem.
Well, that would be just our the certification that you have deposited. But actually, that Yaka DAI going to be compared to a DAI or SEDAI or that the DAI or USDC or wherever that's gonna get the interest related to the strategy.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, I think that's time for this project. Thanks for presenting, David.
Thank you so much for your time, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Cool idea.
All right, so we have 2 projects left, and I know Sergej has something which may prevent him from seeing the last project, but that's okay if he drops early. We'll just do the last project separately. But next up is Jérôme. Jérôme, you can start whenever you're ready.
You're muted, Jérôme, by the way.
Hello. So in this project, it's a bit continues what I was doing from the last Ethereum hackathon.
Up the volume a little.
Was to develop a library from scratch that is able to interact with the blockchain in C using kind of international programming language that makes the possibility after to have more simple interface for the end user to write C programming. The goal is to be able to make low-level programs that will insert in high security device like hardware security module or like HSM key as well, key with secure element to be sure that the data and the processing that is linked to the blockchain cannot be hacked by anybody. So last time I stopped sending transaction. I was not able to sign correctly the transaction. So now since I work on this, so now transactions are working, and I work also on smart contract call. So the idea was to be able to get the right data to be able to call smart contracts. It has taken more time than expected, but I make it work with AAVE smart contract. So that's my code. You can see it's more like drag and drop blocks code style. When you create a program, it compiles the program with the same code, and when you execute, it runs the program. So in this case, it's about 10 seconds, which should be fine. It's just running 2 smart contracts called from AAV. So one is deposit and another one is withdraw. So you get the detail of the transaction. And if we go to this transaction, we see that it calls the deposit method with the right parameters. So it's kind of seems trivial with JavaScript application, but that's more C code that can be embedded in low-level computer. It's different. If I go to the AAV that I did, so the idea is to have user interface quite simple. It's still a bit complicated, but more time to simplify it. So for example, you get two smart contract calls. The one, you get the address of the smart contract, the gas, maximum amount of gas that you want to spend, the function that you are calling, the amount of Ethereum that you are sending, and the different value that you pass to the call that will be your wallet. And so the one is not used. And same for the withdraw, same address, withdraw, and different parameter for the wallet. Yeah, I didn't have all the time to finish what I wanted, but I think I will need another hackathon to make something really useful for the end user for this. Okay, thank you.
You said you didn't have time to finish everything you wanted. What's next? I assume you're going to keep working on it at the next ETHGlobal hackathon or at East Denver or something like that. Like, what's next?
Yeah, I will try to advance a bit on East Denver. The idea is to generate automatically the block from the smart contract API. So I have already the processing, and after I will make the block. So you just like put different values that correspond to the smart contract call, but that make in a more automatic way for developer to unbundle the tools quite quickly.
So can you also make transactions, or can you only do ETH calls? And also another question that I have is, you mentioned it could be useful in embedded devices and things like that. What are some of the use cases you think like this? What are some of the interesting use cases you've thought of that could take advantage of this?
Okay, so yes, I can do anything like transaction or contract call. The things that I want to do, it's to be able to have the full program running inside the secure element. For example, you have a ledger key and you just design your code, put the code in your ledger key, and everything will be run inside the ledger, so there is no interaction with the computer and there is no hack possible between. And same for the server. I'm working this for a long time for my company using HSM, so hardware security module. The servers that are used by banks, but they are quite low level, and the idea is to use them to embedded some Ethereum code that be able to process batches without the intervention of the user or anything external.
I have one question. So what I understood, you wrote everything from scratch in C, right?
Yeah, I use OpenSSL library from C, and I had some function to match with Ethereum because there is a bit of different cryptos at the standard ones, crypto function use. And that was at the last hackathon, but last Ethereum hackathon, I didn't finish this because I have some problems signing and my signature was not good all the time. So now it's stable, and I added the ability to call smart contracts.
Cool. Can you push your code maybe? So it's possible to read it on GitHub, because there's nothing pushed.
I can put the end user code, but the whole code, it's thousand and thousand lines of code. So I don't really know which part of the code you want to have, like the C code that generates the library.
What you wrote on hackathon?
Yeah. Okay, yeah, we tried. It's kind of XML, and the editor is not released publicly. Or maybe I can give you access to my editor. That makes more sense for you, so you can have a look to it.
Just share what you can share. I would like to take a look. Sounds great. The ideas would like have also implementation for HSMs, so it runs more secure. Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
Okay, sorry, try. So can I push? How I do it? I push to use the URL, or how can we proceed?
You set a repository here. So what I can see
GitHub?
on GitHub. Yeah. Just push what you can push, like C code maybe. I don't know. I would
Okay,
like
I can
to
push
take a look
C
on
code,
that.
but it's C generated code, so it won't be too funny to read. But yeah, I can push it.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I do it right after. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, cool. Thanks.
Thank you, Chuma.
Very cool.
Okay, no problem. Thanks.
Sergey, are you going to drop, or do you want to just push through this last project? So I think
I have still 6 minutes. So
okay.
It's, I guess it's not enough.
We can just at least do the presentation. Morgan, if you want to just start.
Yeah.
Cool, Jerome.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
See you next one.
Can you hear me now?
I hear you.
Okay, great. Gov10, take back attention, contribute to a future homestead with others. The goal is to optimize well-being in new city developments. The problem is to prevent crypto attention depletion in DeFi by building a credit network for builders with land developments and users with biofeedback data to align incentives towards positive nature utilization. The solution is planetary government software for building new land development institutions via globally pooled credit. Ethereum holds a unique balance between attention or spirit and matter in the traditional world, creating a type of dark matter potential that can confer new rapid development in projects. To unlock and redistribute, focus on embedding context back from the intention in living into growing land and reconnecting with nature. Under economic stasis like the COVID pandemic, possible planetary redistribution begets a possibility for people to shift to local scopes. Gov10 has an embedded biofeedback put option as an attention take-back mechanism to facilitate the Gov10 NFT warrant. Over a period of time, a portion of escrow funds can be used to purchase an NFT representing biofeedback data, also called spectrum demand option. By attempting to create a new medium, neuroeconomies may form whereby biographic coupons represent future cognitive value for institutions and researchers. It becomes possible to form new land metrics in bioregionalism projects by focusing on a cross-nation alternate funding model. To put another way, you can consider it like staking memories in a place before you've arrived. By embedding the context of bio-well-being data in a Gov10 loan repayment, positive incentives become aligned in new ways so that we might explore a new geopolitical rotation possibility. The Gov10 UI uses Three.js to be used as an in-home hologram. Possible risks include illicit data, unpaid loans, and single project takeover, which has possible prevention mechanisms. Using Gov10, you can either go to a place as a user or build. As a builder, you can build for certain pools decided by the user's biofeedback. You can then create an off-chain listing by allowing Aave the approval of the credit amount, uploading files related to the project, and choosing the location for such project. You are then given the option to have a portion of the repayment done via spectrum demand option, which represents future cognitive biofeedback data. After signing the transaction, payment of the portion of the funds are escrowed in the contract. As a user or delegator, you can first choose a biopool that appeals to you. From your profile, you can then go and choose a project you want to deposit funds into and delegate credit to. As a final step, you can review the loan and sign your data key saved on chain for the biofeedback data, and at this point 2 NFTs would be minted to you, a biodata and another warrant for the project access. Once your pool in place has been decided, you can then participate in data sharing rituals in virtual mindfulness rooms by revealing your swarm to the developer pool and your biofeedback data. After this point, the borrowers or the developers can redeem the key from the blockchain and plug into the Swarm pool stream. They can have the data sold to research institutions and possibly those that are building such projects. Participants can be comfortably included by using a headset fitted to a pair of glasses or used during any other activity.
Hi. Maybe I don't know, I'm dumb or something, but I was hearing lots of terminologies that I'm not familiar with, like cognitive biofeedback data or like swarm revealing or biological well-being. Is this like could you give an elevator pitch that summarizes what it is? Could you explain like on 5, please?
Sure. So you can think of it like if you're moving to a place where a land developer is building a house for you, you can repay that person in the option of using biofeedback data. Or you can think of it like if you're extracting data from part of your, let's say, medical bills or something like that, you can contribute that data to be sold to the developers that are building the place that you want to be living into.
Okay,
So
what is...
Go ahead.
Yeah, what does biofeedback data mean?
Yeah, so it represents the data that you get from taking measurements from, let's say, your body or some type of portion of your biology.
So like my Oura Ring or my Fitbit or my Apple Watch or whatever, like, so I'm giving this, how am I'm sticking it in IPFS? Like what's the...
Yeah, right now I'm just using DAT project, but in the future I would probably use IPFS. Right now it's just stored locally on the computer, and the purpose is that I think that a way to on-ramp users is to be more mindful of the community and thinking about the data being shared as a portion of you being a contributor to that data. So it's not just stored globally, but the only way to access that data is to be a portion of someone else's pool.
Okay, so in like the developer thing example, I buy a house. Part of the agreement is that they get access to my data pooled with everybody else in the development for a couple of years.
It could be a couple of years, could be just a window that could be set up as the portion of what's agreed upon at the start of the time.
And is the idea that the developer can then sell my data and that's the remunerative part, or is it that they understand how I'm using it?
Yeah, the idea is that the developer is more of like an institution builder or some type of research focused developer. And they would be buying that at sort of a chain linked Oracle price of the NFT representation. So I like it would be less traditional developers and more people focusing on new types of communities or new types of institutions in certain areas. I don't want to say charter city because that's not necessarily the focus. The focus is on something a little bit in between, something that optimizes for well-being.
Okay, so it's sort of like analytics for the developers.
Sure.
Like in developing the community.
Sorry, what was the last question?
Yeah, it's analytics to measure, how well they did in terms of providing well-being to the residents, of a development.
In the time in which they're not living in the place. So if they haven't moved there yet, the developers want to make sure that the people moving to this place have positive well-being or are, let's say, folk trying to focus on that, and they can provide metrics to represent that as a coupon for purchase at a later point.
I see. Okay. Okay. Cool. Yeah. This is super futuristic.
Yeah, my only comment is like, it seems like you're overlapping or you're bringing together a lot of different domains. So I'm curious how you got engaged with all these different areas and what inspired you to bring these all together, like some personal experience or like past job experience.
I would say that a lot of the hackathons along the way from ETHGlobal has been pretty useful. Then with this project, I started thinking about how Aave loans can be incorporated into new type of local economies with types of stable currency. And then I couldn't solve the problem without using some type of, advanced reputation system to align the incentives between the borrows and the uncollateralized loans of the lenders. So I thought that it would be an interesting thing to try to tie that back into a positive feedback loop, thinking about the wellness of people moving to a place. So yeah, it was definitely projects along the way, and then a project that's close to me is like trying to match the sort of like a futuristic side with like a natural well-being side.
Gotcha. Cool. That's good to know that you've engaged with the hackathons and that was part of your process getting to this point. So I'm happy to have played a part in that.
Thank you very much.
I think we can wrap there. Thank you, Morgan, for presenting.
Thank you.
Cheers, Morgan.
So yeah, that's it. I want to thank everybody who's presented. It looks like we don't really have anybody who stuck around besides the people who just presented, but thanks to Pete, Evan, and Sergej. Sergej had to drop for this last project, but I'm sure he'll be looking into the project profile and he'll reach out with any questions. So yeah, this was session 8, bunch of good projects. I want to remind everybody that the finale will be Thursday from 12 to 2:30 Eastern. So we'll be reviewing all of the projects collectively, all the judging scores, and then reach out to any of the projects that ranked in the top tier. And then you'll present again to the finalist panel. That's all I've got. Thanks again to the judges and everybody who helped put the hackathon together, all our sponsors. It's been a really great month of hacking, building, stuff like that. And that's it. We'll see you in the Discord or at the finale if you're joining us there. See you guys.